Welcome to the Jam Yearbook. I'm Jim.
And I'm Matt. We're here to take you on a journey through the years as we explore the music in our lifetime and the impact it's had on us and the world we've lived in.
Welcome to version 2022 and Happy New Year.
Yay!
Yeah.
We made it. We made it. The end is near. We were both anxious to cover 2022 as soon as we could.
I think it'd be good to reflect on the year and how this show's personally helped us explore music. It's been a huge part of our lives. Keeping up with listening to current music has become a bigger struggle for me. So coming here to do version 2022 has helped me look at what I missed hearing because I was too busy listening to shitty 2016 music this past year.
That was horrible. Same here. Same here. Oh my God. We've had a ton of good luck finding great music the last 5 years or so. And it felt like it was the music doing a lot of the work, to be more appealing to us. We didn't have to work too hard to like it. Doing the shows opened me up to appreciating music I wouldn't in the past, but the music we've been hearing has been really easy to like. But as usual, before we get too far into what we found, we need to say farewell to a number of influential people we lost in 2022.
Yeah, there were a lot of deaths in 2022. So we're going to roll through them probably a little more quickly and not eulogize in the past sense when there have been one or two or three people who are largely influential, because I'm sure once we get through this list, people will understand. We're going to start off with somebody who people might not recognize the name right off the roll of the tongue, but that's Michael Lang.
Counterculture hero to popular culture villain, probably.
Yeah. He was the Woodstock promoter. He was the creator of Woodstock, but he was also the 1999 riot promoting denier. So I say, let's just remember him for 1967. And then we have Meatloaf. Look, I pick on Meatloaf, but good for him and all he accomplished. He was a great vocalist and entertainer.
Did you just put an attaboy in Meatloaf's eulogy?
Damn straight I did. And then we have Mark Lanegan. Honestly, Matt, thank you for sharing his music on this show during our time in this past year. You gave me a real appreciation for him.
Yeah, he had such a unique, special voice. I'm going to miss hearing new music from him. I always treasured when I heard his new stuff.
Yeah, he was a great songwriter and great voice. And yeah, he'll be missed. And then somebody else who's really going to be sorely missed, especially in these ongoing years, is Taylor Hawkins. Seeing him sing Under Pressure at Olympic Stadium in London will be a highlight of my concert-going lifetime. I also caught good footage of his drum solo that night on my phone. I put it up on our TikTok page. He was a larger-than-life character. He was known, apart from his drum kit, which is rare for drummers in rock bands, in a way that Bonham or Keith Moon were known. And when Dave Grohl says, "Hey, will you be my drummer?" That's got to be somebody special right there.
Yeah, that always felt like a really special relationship that those two had. And I was watching some hockey the other night. My Devils were playing the Flyers, and the goalie for the Flyers, Carter Hart. I almost stumbled and said Corey Hart there. He's got portraits of Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins on his mask. So that was kind of neat to see.
That's awesome. And then we have Olivia Newton-John. Oh, Sandy. No, not you, Sandy from the Metal Show. This is a different Sandy. I played Danny Zuko in a stage production of Grease, and she will always be timelessly beautiful and have a piece of my heart.
Oh, yeah. Who didn't have a crush on her back in the day?
Yeah, we all did.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's Coolio. And, Coolio, he's not known for a lot of chart toppers, but he was well known in entertainment for the past 25 years or so. It was a fantastic voyage. I only want to reiterate for him that he was not a gangster rapper. He did a song for a soundtrack, and that song, Gangsta's Paradise, was huge, but he regretted the reputation that it gave him. He was an entertainer. He was in movies. He contributed to so much more to the world around him. He even had a cooking show. And from what I can see, he was a very generous soul. After him, we'll move on to Loretta Lynn. To me, I'll always just think she was the coal miner's daughter and also the real queen of country.
I'm glad some of our recent versions, they've reminded me that Loretta was still releasing music. And in our country episode, I got to go back and listen to some of her, older stuff. I haven't been disappointed by her new stuff. And when legends move on, you feel that loss.
Yeah. I think that Jack White kind of revitalized her, and I'm thankful.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
thankful to him for doing that.
definitely.
Yeah. And then we have Jerry Lee Lewis, otherwise known as the Killer. We won't ask why. Maybe in
Yeah.
more ways than one. But he was an original in the company of Elvis and Johnny Cash, and that itself is not an easy feat.
Yeah, and I had to file this under he was still alive. I had no idea. You know, when you grow up hearing this person sing and automatically he's old
Mhm.
when but you know he was probably our age or close to that when we first heard him.
Yeah.
But great performer and you know, you try not to think about his personal life. You know, you just concentrate on, his poor piano and how many he probably broke.
That's true. And then we have Christine McVie, the pure voice from Fleetwood Mac. She was always the one who seemed that way. She was very sincere on stage, a professional, just about wanting to perform. In my opinion, when you go and you watch this band in concert and you see anything they've done in the public eye, she was the absolute class act of the band. And she wrote Don't Stop. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest songs of all time. Other songs,
Oh yeah.
Songbird, but she left a legacy that I think needs to really be exclamated here, because so many people would really focus on Stevie Nicks or Lindsey Buckingham, but she was just as important and integral to the success of that band as they ever were.
Yeah, she was. It always felt like everybody else in that band, they had to, be in that shadow of Nix and Buckingham.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have Ronnie Spector. What a unique voice. A legend in the 60s, so distinctive of her time. The Ronettes were a pioneer girl group.
In 1965, the top three popular singing groups in the UK, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Ronettes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I mean, oh, man, I listened to Be My Baby quite a few times this week. That's such a
Yeah,
great song.
yeah. Well, there we go. And that's quite a list of people who died.
It is. It is. So to all we lost in 2022, we say thank you.
Yep.
But in moving on to the music of 2022, where should we begin? I know personally, I've been paying so much attention to the years we've covered in previous versions that I've kind of mostly neglected 2022.
Mhm.
So it was a bigger challenge than I was expecting, but there were some surprises. And one of those was 4 Weezer EPs.
You mean the Weezer SZNZ album Seasons?
The seasons, yeah.
Yeah. Rivers Valvaldi Cuomo wrote these. I listened to Spring when it came out, so just so people know, these are all named after the seasons, the 4 EPs, just like Vivaldi would have, named the 4 seasons.
Yes.
The song "A Little Bit of Love" edges my 5 this week. It was almost there. It was really close. I like it. But to be honest, as much as I loved Weezer in my early adult years, I'm to a point now where I'm a little fatigued by him. They've become so much of a novelty, and there's not enough honesty in the songwriting for me. I listened to the other seasonal albums this week. I'd only listened to Spring before the show, and they back up how I'm feeling. I think Rivers really just comes too close to melodies and ideas from other songs sometimes for me to be comfortable with it. He's possibly the king of borrowing, getting just close enough. I mean, you can hear like Stand By Me. You can hear these
Yeah.
different songs, these riffs that just but they go one chord different one way or the other. Then
Yeah.
it's just, I don't think I'd mind this so much if it happened once in a while, but it's become widespread across his music in these albums. And we've talked in the past about how he uses songwriting algorithms. So I'm sure after he studied all these other pop songs, this is how he gets there.
Yeah, because that rip is usually only a few seconds long. It's just enough to make you go, "Oh, that was a popular riff." But
And
then
then
it
it's
kind of
not.
drifts.
Yeah.
Exactly. I really love the concept. I'm using seasons as modes, but I think one album, maybe two, and I know we've had that discussion about double albums being mostly too much of a good thing,
Yep.
but maybe a double album with 4 distinct movements with transitional pieces towards the end, to make it all kind of flow. But eventually it came down to I'm not hearing anything that I wouldn't hear off another Weezer album. So you're just going to slap a concept on it
Yeah.
to try to get attention, that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would have concentrated on maybe making it shorter, in more, but more connected. It would have
Yeah.
been more compelling
Hmm.
to me because they've had a few stinkers lately and they just keep pumping them out over and over and over. But it's because we, you said it there, our adult lives, we had them, we know what they can do, but hopefully they're gaining new fans because they're probably losing a lot of the older ones like us.
I think they probably gained a lot of new fans with the cover album a few years back.
Yeah,
And I'm
which I
sure,
liked. I
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah,
that.
it's fun, but once again, novelty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But and I hear what you mean about the borrowing. It's just enough, right? It comes
Mhm.
up to that wall and then backs away. In Fitting for December, I could have swore in The Sound of Drums, I heard a little bit of Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
And Doctor, Give It to Me, you mean Doctor, Give Me the News? It just edges right up to being a full rip. But like you said, it's just not enough to get called out.
Yeah.
And there are moments where I hear old Weezer coming through,
Mhm.
and but these are really short EPs. They're like 20, 25 minutes long, but halfway through each one, I'm looking at the clock going, oh man, it's not over yet. They just dragged on and on.
And what disappoints me about Weezer coming this close and not actually ripping it off completely is, what was it, a year back, 2 years back, that he did his dedication album to Van Halen?
Oh, Van Weezer, yeah.
Yeah, Van Weezer. And that album, I expected to sound like Van Halen, more
But it
like
didn't.
Van Halen, and it didn't.
No, it's
No.
just Weezer.
Yeah.
Let's just call it something else. And
Yeah.
people will just buy it because, oh, maybe they're gonna do something different.
Yeah, no
Nope.
kidding. No kidding. All right. So in 2022, there were some surprise albums to me. Some stuff that I really enjoyed. And I'm just going to start naming some of these albums and we'll talk about them and we can go through it. We had the Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Return of the Dream Canteen, Eddie Vedder's album Earthling, Taylor Swift's Midnights. How am I not ashamed that doing this show has made me a Taylor Swift fan? But I'm not ashamed. I'll defend it. And I would happily debate anyone who has arrogantly and ignorantly ignored her songwriting trajectory. Hell, I was that guy a year ago, but now I look forward to her new releases. I don't care for everything in her back catalog by any means,
Hmm.
but after she did those indie albums during lockdown, Folklore and Evermore, she's gone in a direction that I sincerely approve of.
Yeah. And even though it was a text, I could feel you bracing for a king's load of scoffing when
Okay.
I when when you
Well,
and I quote, pre-ordered Taylor Swift's new album on mahogany vinyl and it's coming with an autograph inside. I'm pathetic.
I got it right out there. Yeah, it's in my
Yeah.
collection.
Yeah. Hey, it took too much time to find that in our chat to not quote you. So,
No,
but
that's
again,
fair. That's fair enough.
yeah. But again, our arc of belonging to the Taylor Swift Appreciation Society has been more about work on her end. She's
Mhm.
taken control of her music and her career. And I got nothing but respect for what she's done on that front. Hell, when we cover 2020, I will have a Taylor Swift song in my 5. How's that for a tease? I'm pretty sure you know which one it is, but
Yeah.
but we'll get there. Her older stuff will never be all that appealing to us, but
Mm-mm.
she's not a teenager anymore. It may be coming out with music that's more accessible to us.
Yeah, she is. So then next, the Eddie Vedder album.
Earthling is amazing.
Yeah. We talked in version 1998 recently how we kind of gave up on Pearl Jam after the first 3 albums. Now we'd found Yield in our adult life as being more
Mhm.
mature and we enjoyed it a little bit more. But this album sounded more like the Pearl Jam I'd been waiting for after those first 3 albums. But while it's missing the whole band, having Mike Watt on bass, Josh Klinghoffer on guitar, and Chad Smith playing drums, that just is going to lend to a great sound.
Yeah.
And the first song, Invincible, it has a wonderful maturity of like late 1980s, early 1990s Peter Gabriel.
I had that same thought when I was listening to that song, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
I did a double take because I could have swore that was Peter Gabriel singing.
Yeah.
It
does.
was amazing. His
That's-
voice it's getting better with age.
It is.
Because into kind of piggyback on what you're saying about, our disappointment with Pearl Jam as they kept putting out records, this is the closest thing to like a complete album from anybody from Pearl Jam
Yeah, I
in a
agree.
while.
From beginning to end, instead of just
Yeah.
sounding like snapshots of songs to songs to
Hmm.
songs,
Yep.
it does fall together that way. And then the second track right after that, The Power of Right, it gets political. It alludes to the January 6th Capitol insurgency. And it sounds like it should have been a follow-up to the album Verses. It would have been a track right off of that or right after. And then you also have Elton John, Ringo Starr, and Stevie Wonder, names you probably wouldn't be like, hey, come be on an Eddie Vedder album, but they dip right into it and it works. There's even a Tom Petty feel on a couple of tracks. So finally, here's music that sounds like good classic rock that isn't the same classic rock you've heard a bazillion times already.
Oh yeah, it felt like an old friend
Yeah, it did.
that
Yeah,
you, but you could still listen to it over and over.
it
So speaking of friends, I made some new ones this year thanks to this show.
did.
Jimmy, I know it probably felt like it took a long time for me to put my thoughts down in our notes this week, and I had to blame King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They came out with 5 albums, and I had to listen to them, but you can't just casually listen to them. You kind of have to dive in
Yeah,
to
yeah,
to
yeah.
kind of understand what's going on. And I joked with you about having, my 5 songs were all going to be King Giz. And you're welcome for not doing that. A lot gets made of their genre bending ways, and it's well deserved. In one song, they'll drift all over the place, genre, time signature, whatever. But at their heart, they are a jam band, and they put these different flavors in their music. At least the music that I've heard, but
Mhm.
through it all, they still sound like King Gizzard, and that sound is really awesome. And neither of us are into jam bands. To me, that conjures up like the Dead or Fish,
Yep.
which neither of us really have a love affair for. Um, I haven't been able to connect completely with those bands, but the Lizard Wizards are totally interesting. Even when they're staying on the same bit too long, something I call out other bands for, typically jam bands.
Mhm.
It's like, come on, let's move, let's move. But I'm picking up on all these little nuanced changes or sounds that they just interject. There's nothing on their albums that I don't think they think very long and hard about. There's just so much thought going in. I'm 100% all in on this band. Even if it's labeled as thrash, I'm going to check it out.
Good. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought them to the show, and I enjoyed listening to it this week as well. Yeah, 5 albums, man. Much better than listening to the 1998 Billboard Top 100, I'm sure.
You're goddamn right.
So we talked about a shift in music happening here from probably 2018. We haven't done 2017 yet, so we're curious. I know that is a place in the back of our minds right now that we're like, what's going to happen there? But
Yeah.
from 2018 through 2022, we've kind of questioned what's been going on. And to be honest, it's almost become a tired theme, but I think we're going to kind of bury it here and now for quite a while. There's still some great music that I discovered in 2022. And there's some artists that I've talked about before that are producing good material. I had a sonic love affair with Biba Doobie and her new album this year. And guess what? She's gone from someone who, 5-6 years ago was recording in her bedroom to major festival slots to opening for Taylor Swift on the upcoming Midnights tour in the USA. We also had the First Aid Kit, a band we talked about before, that they put out a great album this year. I don't think they could actually ever do anything wrong. They sound so good that everything just
Yeah,
sounds nice.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that's a surprise to us. And I don't preach about The Weeknd too much, but I was kind of surprised when I listened to it this week. I'm not a fan of his, but his album Dawn FM blends 80s electronica and R&B in a way that I didn't know was imaginable.
Oof, I continued to struggle with The Weeknd. After you said how much you were liking it this week, I was pretty intrigued.
Mhm.
I still went in with low expectations. I haven't found the right combination of timing, headspace, and alcohol for him to make an impact on me. And that continued this week.
That's fine.
There were hints, but I think maybe I just have my mind made up about him, and I need to try to get past that. Biba Doobie, I mean, she's been predicted to break out for a couple years now. I'm not even sure what breaking out looks like anymore. Maybe opening for Taylor Swift is it. I listened to her this week because you keep bringing her up. And while she's not totally what I, would go and listen to, I like the arc her album had. The
Mhm.
first couple songs had a, kind of a like a 90s sound to it. And then it just turned sideways and it feels like she's following her own path.
Yeah, she definitely is influenced by 90s music. She admits to 90s grunge being an influence to what she's doing. And
Mhm.
I do follow her on Facebook and her social media. And there was a day that I brought up one of her reels and she was teaching herself and learning how to play Cherub Rock. And I was
Oh,
like, oh,
cool.
oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And I'm with you on First Aid Kit. They are fantastic. With just a hint of country flair to really set themselves apart and just be their own thing.
Mhm. So my opinion is that we've kind of reached the peak of the curve. Maybe I'm hoping not, but we might be there. There's a lot of good music still coming out in 2022, but it didn't quite get me as excited as some of the music from the previous years.
Yeah, and there's been almost like a 5-year stretch of us finding great new music. And I think that's what we've seen in most decades we've covered, half good, half to crap. I'm not quite ready to say it's on a downturn. It's probably leveled off. Maybe, yeah, it is right at that peak.
Yeah.
Because we found so much good music in these recent years. I'm
Mhm.
willing to gamble. It's just the right releases will be there next year. And maybe this is a small dip and we're going to continue to climb, but mainly because the sheer quantity of music that's getting released in any given year now, it's it's almost inevitable you're going to find a lot of stuff that you can connect with.
Mhm. You know, this is a comment that I've heard recently, and I think I brought it up in one of the other shows. I was talking to a friend, and he said, you can find anything now if you're looking for it. But I'm just going to stand on the edge of this cliff right now and say that we have had iTunes, we've had Spotify, we've had Deezer, we've had Amazon Music, we've had all these platforms for 10 years with 30 million plus songs on everything and artists putting music out. And it didn't really get to a point until the past 4 to 5 years where I felt really excited about what I was listening to. And maybe I wasn't listening to enough new music in 2016, 2015. We haven't covered that year, or those
Yeah.
years before that.
Yep.
But in those years when we've gone back to try to take a look, I've not found anything that's really gotten me super excited. And I don't want to just lay on the excuse that, oh, that music is only more available now, because it was available. There was plenty of opportunity to find new music 10 years ago. The digital age started 15 to 20 years ago. And I think maybe it's algorithms or maybe it's playlists or things like that that might have changed things a little bit. But I don't want to say that in the past 3 years, suddenly it's come around that we can find this, when in 2016, I can look up a new rock playlist. I can look up an indie playlist. I can look up a pop playlist. I can go through all of that and not find the same music that I'm finding within the past 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this digital age, it shouldn't be that hard to find
Mhm.
music that you like, new music that you like. But I also think that this digital age and all the streaming platforms and whatever, they've just made it easier for record companies to promote what they want, and the deeper pockets usually win.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure the new music
So,
playlist that I listen to every week, there's
yeah,
some kind of promotion that's involved where
guaranteed.
if you pay to play to be on that list in some way or the other.
But and it all gets back to, being a new artist now has to be so stressful because you almost have to do it on your own
Yeah. 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 You're
and
right.
hope that the right person finds you,
Yeah.
you know, through what you're releasing, through whatever streaming services or YouTube or TikTok or wherever.
But what I will still sing praises to regarding this digital platform that's going on now is I'm so happy that it's not reliant upon watching music videos, that it's
Yes.
actually about music first. And that's what's projecting it forward. And I don't care if people want to argue about MP3 quality versus CDs and what you're listening to,
Mhm.
because, we used to watch TV in black and white and the story was still fucking good. It didn't
Yeah.
matter. So if a song is good, a song is good. I just put my band CD up on Apple, on Spotify, on everything, and it's lossless. That's the sound quality of it. It's not MP3 shit quality. If you go and listen to it, it's good. And people want to just shit on MP3s and the sound quality of them, but you can still get CD quality sounding music off these streaming websites. It's just a matter of how you choose to listen to it and stream it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't argue against any of that. So while I didn't find many new bands or even rap releases I could totally embrace, I did pay attention to older bands and found really good albums from the Scorpions and, believe it or not, Ann Wilson. I was really surprised to
Oh,
see something
wow.
from her. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good. And I checked in with some indie acts I haven't in a while. The Tallest Man on Earth and Jukebox the Ghost. They were putting out stuff that measures up to some of their best material. Billy Idol, I got really bored with,
Yeah,
but
I listened to that.
but I gave it a chance, and I got a huge surprise from Alanis Morissette.
Mhm.
She put out an album of ambient music. And yeah, that's not my thing, and it's probably not 99% of people's thing. But this was something that completely threw me off. I had no idea she had this kind of music in her. So in that way, I was really impressed. Granted, half a minute into each song, I was almost asleep, but just that, the person that was out there singing You Ought to Know is coming out with this
Oh, yeah.
now was pretty amazing.
Honestly, if you listen to that album, she probably stressed you out. So here's the album for
Yeah,
her fans now.
exactly.
That's
It's
great
the
though.
payoff. And there were some familiar rap names, Denzel Curry, Dram, JID, but I think it just takes me a little bit longer to find the right songs that I like,
Mhm.
a little bit longer to just find that appreciation with it. And I'll admit that I really haven't listened to a lot of that stuff until this week, and it just hadn't sunk in yet. Maybe on a cleanup, or maybe our rap spectacular.
All right. So before we get to our 5, we need to do something. We need to take a moment to reflect on 2022 and how amazing this year has been to receive the support we have from our audience. This show has had a great musical impact on my life, and I'm having the kind of relationship with music that I haven't had since my late teens or early 20s. But let's face it, it's you, our amazing listeners. I'm talking to you now, not you, Matt. If you hadn't given us such great support, I don't know if we'd made it this far. I attempted a couple of podcasts before this, and while I think always my heart was in the right place, now with you, Matt, not our listeners, I've learned so much more from doing this. So thank you to you. Thank you to the listeners. And can you believe that in less than 9 months, we're just about at 1,000 plays?
Cool.
And every week when we launch a new episode, we can see there's a loyal base of listeners checking it out. I am so super grateful for this. So thank you to everybody. And let's also not forget the great contributions that we had to the show from Mark, Sandy, John, Mercedes, and Harry. They joined us, and it was a ray of light for each episode that they were in.
Yeah, this has been a fun ride. When you first asked me about doing a show, I was cautiously excited, then a little dubious, because we knew it's going to be about music, because that's what you and I talk about. But to actually come up with an idea that hadn't been beaten to a pulp was a little tricky.
Yeah.
And I remember when we came up with the general idea, it was actually pretty quick, but it was the nailing down the flow, that took time. And we're still fine tuning it as we go. That's pretty evident if you go back and listen to the older versions.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
still tweaking as we go. But that's good. And a lot of that is my need to just, hey, let's just freshen this up. I need to have something new. But the changes, as well as the show in general, it all feels very natural to me. And I think that's a product of us having such a long friendship. There's a respect in our relationship that allows us to beat up on each other a little when we disagree, because we don't really go all in and say, "Oh, fuck you, you're goddamn stupid." We're a little more agreeable with it. I wish we would disagree a little bit more often. I'm a little surprised by that. So thank you, Jim, for asking me to join in the fun. And thank you to everyone who's been listening. Some people or shows may not think 1,000 plays is a lot, but to us it is. Our largest listening base is in the US, Scotland, and England, which isn't a surprise considering where each of us live. But when we see people listening in 13 other countries, including Jamaica, the Netherlands, Spain, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Romania, Wales, Canada, Australia, Switzerland, and most recently Israel and Poland. It's a really cool moment. And I want to have trading cards made up so we can collect them all.
I actually had a thought at one point. We played in a band together. We've both played in bands for many years. And if we had been in a band in our lifetime in Vermont, where we are from, where 20 to 30 people showed up every single Friday night to watch us play consistently, we would be successful at what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've played in a lot of bands where 5 people showed up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so thankful to the people that are here listening to this, because it does actually, I feel like in my lifetime of everything I've done musically, this might be me peaking at this moment. And I think it's going to continue to grow and go in the right direction. And I know that the people that are listening are going to take us there. And so that's why I'm so grateful.
Oh yeah, and hopefully the listeners have liked it. We've changed up a bit. We bring on guests, and they share their stories, or we changed up completely with our specials. We've got a few more in the works, and the idea of the Jam Yearbook means we have a hard out after we've covered the years we've been alive, and it's kind of given us a chance to get more life out of doing something we truly enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we go. 2022. It's time to wrap it up and be done with it. We have to go to our 5. So when we did the Christmas episode, you had the first song. So now it's my turn to go first for 2022. You ready for it?
Yes.
All right. So I am going to start with Biba Doobie, since we talked about her earlier in the show. There might be a couple of artists we talked about earlier that I'll bring up again. I know I'm definitely going to keep going on about this album in our daily chats, but I hope she's going to continue doing what she's doing and that she'll write even more. She's touring extensively right now, and I know that kind of can slow an artist down, but I look forward to hearing more from her.
I think you're going to hear plenty of her going forward. Hearing her growth in such a short time is pretty impressive. And I would hazard a guess that with her touring with Taylor Swift, there's going to be a lot of songwriting going on in the off hours.
Yeah, there is.
So I think between the both of them, they're going to come out with a lot of new stuff.
That's great. Yeah. Woo. All right. Number one.
So number one for me is going to be Symptoms of Love from Buddy Guy.
File this under this guy is still alive for me. He's 86 and still touring.
I know, right? It's amazing. And he still sounds really good.
Yeah. But seriously, I love Buddy Guy, and he's always been brilliant. He shreds in this song. His tone is incredible. I'm just trying to figure out how Elvis Costello fits in, if not just an opportunity to have his name attached to a Buddy Guy track.
Yeah.
But I would too. Good for him. It's a really cool song to have, and I like it on the playlist.
Yeah, it's unclear what Elvis Costello does in this song. I might hear his voice, on occasion.
I think maybe in the chorus you hear it a little bit or something. Yeah.
But there's a few featured artists on this album, and I'm trying to pick out, what are you doing? Are you just having your name attached to this? Because nothing screams, this is Elvis Costello, and we've been finding so much good new music lately, but we noticed 2022 wasn't as stellar. And I'm not putting it down at all, but the bar's been set kind of high in recent years.
Mhm.
So when some of the new groups weren't doing it for me, I thought about including some older performers, still getting it done. And Buddy Guy fit the bill. He does not sound 86 on this album.
No,
this
he
is a
doesn't.
great rock and blues song.
Yeah. Good choice. And great to have on the playlist, to have this kind of artist at this point in his life and still sounding the way that he does.
Yes.
All right. My number 2.
Yours.
I am going with Cobra Man.
Cobra Kai?
No, Cobra Man. And the song is called Cool, Nice. Like cool, comma, nice. This song reminds me of really cool old school B-52s. It's got the new wave punk feel that I haven't heard in new music in such a long time. And we've used that phrase, old is new, a few times around these recent years. And I think this is a really great example of it. It's fun. It's playful. It's cool. Nice.
It is. B-52s is spot on. I didn't read your comments on this. I just listened to it and I'm like, "Fuck, this is the B-52s."
Yeah.
But, just a little harder edge, whatever. But man, this is exactly what I was hoping to find more of in 2022.
Yeah.
I loved the energy on this.
That's a great song.
This was a really great song.
That's fun. All right. What's your number two?
I'm gonna go with surprise, surprise, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Fake as fuck.
Oh,
I swore, ladies and gentlemen.
you did, but I let you.
Probably for the sixth time on this
Yeah,
show.
that's fine. Look, it's the name of the song. I let you
Yeah.
take this from me. Even though I've been the Red Hot Chili Peppers fan for the past 25, 30 years, I'm happy to welcome you back.
I claimed it as soon as you texted me this album
Yeah.
because I listened to it and I made sure I claimed Fake as fuck.
Right away. You sent me a message. That's
Yep.
going on my 5.
Yeah.
I did. And when I sent you the text, though, oh man, you got to go listen to this album. The new Chili Peppers album is amazing. Your response was interesting. And then you
Yes.
sent that back a day later.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really glad you liked it. The entire album was a surprise. And
Yes.
it's a nice return to the form of the old school Chili Peppers, if that's something that you missed.
Oh yeah. I'm not all the way back on the Chili Peppers if they put out more albums like this, but put in a little bit of variance just to keep it interesting. The first album they put out this year was a bit of a turd.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So I was supposed to go see the Chili Peppers this past year in
Oh, that's
July
right, yeah.
after that first album came out. And that's Unlimited Love. That's what I would have seen them play the songs off of, but it got canceled. And now we're going to go see them in July of 2023. And the Return of the Dream Canteen has come out. And I know
Oh,
these
awesome.
are the songs they're going to tour. And you're right.
Yeah.
That Unlimited Love was a turd. I was actually flipping through the set list and thinking, oh, what old songs are they going to play? Because I don't want to hear anything off this when we go to the show. But now I want to hear Fake as Fuck.
Yeah. I'd hear anything off this album live. It's a
Yeah.
really good record.
Yeah, it is.
In the first time I heard it, I was hooked. Even the slow start kind of I could feel it was going somewhere.
Mhm.
And then when they kicked in, it's like I'm in love with the Chili Peppers all over again.
Yeah.
Even though I am fatigued with Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Fake as Fuck would be right at home on that album. Flea's bass just punching you in the ears.
Yeah.
It sounds so great.
Yeah, it does. All right, my number
Alrighty.
3.
You're number 3.
Let's go with it. Well, probably not a big surprise to you. I'm going to go with The Snuts. They had a new album that was released in 2022. And the song is Oh, I've not told you about this. And the
I've
song
never heard you talk about the Snuts before.
No, nobody has, right? The song is called Knuckles. This is another band that I've been banging on my drum about for the past couple of years. And I think people I work with are basically now like, geez, Jim, will you shut up about the Snuts? I enjoyed their first album, probably a little bit more than the second release, but I wouldn't call it a sophomore slump. Maybe as far as songwriting goes, it's still just, right in line with it. This is a great song, and there are others on the album that I really like. In the past year, I've been able to see them twice in small clubs that probably only fit a couple hundred people for special shows. And now they're packing anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 people in a night. Everything you hear on these albums are just as good live. There's not a single misstep in what they're doing. And the energy that they bring is incredible. They've got a great group of fans. I hope to keep my eyes on them for some years to come.
Oh yeah, I was definitely expecting for you to add the Snuts here. And this isn't a knock. They just needed to take a little bit of polish off of the new album, because I guarantee you these songs are fantastic live.
Yeah, they are. Just one of those bands that lights the stage up with the same energy that they put into the album. And that is something that's been rare for, I think, a long time. So
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Delta Spirit, and One is One. Delta Spirit has done some maturing in the right direction, kind of like how I've noticed with other groups like the Fratellis. They've definitely refined their sound. They can still give you that hard edge when they need to, but this song just had a really nice flow and punch to it.
You know, I never heard Delta Spirit before I listened to it when you put it onto this list. So these last 3 songs on your list here, I have no notes on, I haven't commented on, and I did this on purpose, just so you know. It's good. It is. I actually listened to more of the album after I listened to this first song off of it. And they're a good band. I really don't know how to comment on them. And I don't know what your experience is listening to them, because they're one of those bands that intrigues me. And I need to go back and listen to more of before I can really make a comment on how good this song is compared to maybe what else they were able to do.
I will say it's similar to the Snuts in that maybe they could have taken just a little bit of polish off this to let a little bit more of their original hard edge to come in.
Yep. And it does sound polished. It does sound maybe a little more commercial than I was expecting from you.
Yes.
And so there was a little surprise to me on that end. And yet at the same time, it still had that rock maturity sound that I know you enjoy from the music that you listen to. So that's cool. And it's a good song. And I hope people find it on the playlist and dig through some of their back catalog.
All right. So what is your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be Gang of Youths, You and Everything.
Youth. What? Did you say Utes?
Did I say Utes?
No.
Gang of Utes.
I just had my cousin Vinny moment.
Gang of Youths, You and Everything. There are these songs out there that can invoke feelings when you listen to them. They're cinematic songs. And when I listen to this, I feel like I'm floating in a montage of memories. It's like I'm 15 and I'm daydreaming again. The talk vocal for the verse leads to one of those choruses that can swoop in and continue on and on with this one sentence melody over and over again. I think the entire album kind of got to me this year. I remember there was a time you and I were talking about whether new music was coming out, and I sent you this album. I was almost determined to go find music to play to you. And I do. I like it. They're one of those bands that I think could really kind of have a trajectory of like a U2 or an REM in the future. They're young. There's something about them within these first few years and their first few albums that I think could grow to something amazing. So
this is definitely a song I'm going to take with me going forward.
Yeah.
You did a good job picking out this song. I skipped over this one because I saw it in the list and it sounded familiar, but I didn't really know what, based on the name of the band, what I was getting into, because I had forgotten you had sent it to me. It was quite a while ago, but I'm glad you picked it. It's got great lyrics, and the lyrics and the music, they're a little disjointed from each other.
Yeah.
But I think that helps you pay attention to the lyrics. They're not buried in a really overly strong melody from the instruments.
Does this song not sound like it belongs in your favorite 1980s movie?
Definitely. Calling John Hughes.
Yeah, exactly. It fits right in with all of that.
Definitely.
So that's my number 4. What is your number 4?
I am going to go with, and I don't know if I'm embarrassed by this or not, but I'm going to go with Wet Leg and Chaise Long. I first heard this a few months ago and I said, really? What are we doing? But damn it, I don't know how I kept hearing it, but it grew on me. And I started checking out more of their songs and I really kind of liked what they were doing. I don't hear anything like this elsewhere. Musically, I get a little bit of Breeders occasionally from time to time in this song. It's goofy, it's catchy, and it's on my list.
So when I mentioned earlier that I didn't put any notes into the songs from this point forward, it's because, Matt, when you brought up in the show about how you and I generally agree on things, this is the point where it stops.
Good.
Like, honestly, did we switch seats? This sounds like a gym song from 1980 something.
I know, right?
And I don't think I've ever had a song annoy me more than this past year than On a Chase Lounge, on a Chase Lounge, on a Chase Lounge, on a Chase
It comes
Lounge,
around.
on a Chase Lounge, on a Chase. And now
it comes around.
I just said in the Gang of Four song that there's a repetitive verse that goes over and over again that I can handle, but I can't handle it with this song.
Hey, it's no John Mayer.
You know when you want to peel back a layer of your skin and just grind underneath it because the song just is getting to you.
Hey, we're not talking about Biba Doobie here.
Hey, come on, man. Look, Biba Doobie's going with Taylor Swift. Wet Leg is not. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that. And
That would be quite the contradiction in
there's
music
actually
there.
some Wet Leg songs I like. There's other stuff.
Oh yeah, there are.
Yeah, there's
Yep,
stuff
there
on
are
that
good.
album. Yeah, that I enjoy. So,
Yep.
you know
I
what?
just didn't want to dig around for him too much.
Hey, you know what? If I'd put this on the audience list to choose,
It wouldn't get voted in.
no, I think it probably would. It was a big song over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Was
it was a big song in the UK. So I'm glad you put it there, and that I can put something else on that list that I'm going to enjoy. And then if anybody complains, I can be like, "That's Matt's fault."
Yes.
That's-
And I can guarantee this playlist has gotten so long. If you ever hear it, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, nah. And if you ever hear it, I'll be sorry.
And I will say, the more of their music that you listen to, it puts it in a different light, because you kind of get you kind of get the whole thing that they're doing.
So they have other
It-
songs where they just repeat the same verse over and over and over and
Um,
over and over and
it-
over and
it-
over and over and over
it's
and over and over and
about-
over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Oh, come on, keep going, keep going.
No, that's good. I'm glad to have it.
No, you're not.
Yes, I
No,
am.
you're not.
It's,
No, you're not.
It's good to be on the list. It is. It represents 2022, and that's what matters. That's what's important.
Okay, Taylor Swift super fan.
Yeah.
Let's go on to your number 5.
Just because it sounds like Max Headroom's just on a skip.
All right. So what is your number 5?
All right. Am I really to number 5 already?
Yeah.
Wow, that's disappointing because I kind of like 2022. All right, my number 5 is by Father John Misty, and the song is Funny Girl. Once again, here we are with that the old is new catchphrase we've been using,
Yeah.
these past few years. And I can't believe this isn't a cover. I actually thought it was. I thought it was up until this week, and we were doing the show.
Same here.
And I wikied it. And
I did too.
I was like, wait a minute. It's so beautiful. It's so smooth. The orchestra sound takes you right back to the crooners of the 50s. And I went down this rabbit hole looking it up and got caught up with an entire fan thread of what it's actually about. Apparently, somebody theorizes that Father John Misty is the funny girl. They mention being on Letterman. There's a lot of backstage dialogue in the song, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Grab your favorite person and dance around the kitchen to it. It's such a good song, and that's what it's there for. It's musically beautiful, lyrical poetry, and this is a song that lives within its own ambiance.
And if there's one thing I take away from new music, it's genres be damned. Just make music and hope it finds an audience.
Yeah.
And Father John Misty, he's definitely found his audience.
Yes, he has.
I love the quirky lyrics in the song.
Mhm.
It certainly has that feel that this is a true story. There is something that happened.
Yeah.
And I love the kind of big band feel of the orchestration. Yeah, it really kind of completed that song.
It does.
It's another one where the lyrics and the music are a little disjointed
Mhm.
as well. And when I was like, God damn, this has to be a cover, until he said Letterman.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, no, this can't be a cover.
I thought maybe it was just a little throw in there, instead of being like
Maybe a little bit of a change of a
instead of
lyric.
Ed Sullivan or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, good song. I'm happy with my 5 from 2022. Ready to move on. Matt, what is your 5th song?
I will go with Eddie Vedder and Long Way. This is one of the songs I bet you thought had a Tom Petty vibe.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Benmont Tench plays his Hammond organ on this track. And beyond that, it's that acoustic guitar and the harmonies. It sounds like something that could have come off Full Moon Fever or Learning to Fly.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this when it came out, and I made a mental note as to make it a candidate for one of my 5 for this year.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I didn't realize that Benmont Tench played the piano, the organ part on this.
Yep. And he's on the song that Elton John does as well.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep.
Well,
You can hear his organ in the background. And yeah, that's a great song that he does with Elton John too.
I talked earlier about how Eddie pulled great musicians in for this album, and it blew me away. And this song, if you want to feel like you're in the 1980s listening to a Tom Petty album and you got the top down or the windows open on your car, but you want to pop in something new, put Long Way by Eddie Vedder on, because it just fits that mold 100%. It's just,
yeah.
yeah.
You'll definitely be teleported back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really just fits it. But once again, we talk about songs that come close to the edge of copying and not too close. And I don't even feel like this song does that. I feel like this song feels like a Tom Petty song and has that, it's almost like if Tom Petty songs were waves coming in and out of the ocean at a certain pace, that's how this song comes in and out with the chorus and the verse and everything that it does. It just flows beautifully. Yep. So there we go.
I would agree. So just like that, 2022 is in the books.
It was a good year.
It was. Yeah, it was a little down from what we I think we just had high expectations for this
Yeah,
year.
but you know what?
But it's not to say we were disappointed.
But you didn't rant. You had no rants for 2022. Yeah.
There really was no reason to rant.
No, unless you listen to that Beyonce album, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, I did not.
I did. I'm sorry.
I did not. Once you said it was kind of like a spoken word thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not going there.
No. Yeah. So I did the whole Pitchfork record thing where I would decide to go and take a look and see what they had going on. I had some spare time this week and I was really heavily disappointed with what journalists are trying to tell you to listen to compared to what you can go out and find on your own. I think
when they write those goddamn things, it feels just like they're trying to curry favor.
And they're just trying to one up each other over hipness,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Look, this isn't even music anymore. This is beyond music. No, it's gotta be music, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Then why are you reviewing it as music?
Exactly.
Stop your nonsense.
Yes.
Silly person.
Cut that shit out. All right. So what are we going to do next, Matt?
I think enough time has passed since we've done our last cleanup that we kind of need to do another one of those. It's kind of an excuse for us to maybe pick a sixth song from one of the years that we've already covered.
And we've left enough shit in the background that we got to go back and sweep it up.
Yeah, kind of. Well, not shit. Boy, that's harsh. Well, knowing the years that we've covered, there's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Maybe that we don't even have to talk about.
We did definitely pick, I think, some of the 2000s intentionally during this time. But we should remind people that we changed the rules in our last cleanup episode, that we're not going to rely on just what we did in the past 10 years. We're going to look back across the whole show and kind of find the songs that we missed and bring those songs back. But we should still maybe, touch on those years or find some things that, we should have talked about. And maybe the other thing we can do is bring it to the audience. We've got enough time now. We can bring it to the Facebook page and ask them, what do you feel like we missed? And maybe the audience will have an opinion on what we've missed and they can feed that to us on the Facebook page. Maybe we'll give them a little bit of time and pump them for a couple of weeks. Cause now, we're a little bit ahead on what we recorded and we can bring this show, this catch up over all the episodes, everything we might've missed, and give them a chance to give us a little bit of a kick in the shins for,
Yeah, it's their chance to let us know where we've gone wrong and maybe correct our opinions on something. Or I think I look more forward to somebody bringing us something that we completely neglected.
All right, everybody, we just want to say thank you once again for the amazing year that you have delivered to us in 2022. We're so happy that we have the audience listening and the plays that we've received and the interaction that we've had on our Facebook page. It continues to grow. It feels like there's a family out there of people who might agree, might disagree with us. And we're going to invite you into the new year to disagree with us a little bit more. That's what we're talking about. And I think that's what we need to do, because that kind of stuff can be fun to address and talk about on the show. When we get it wrong, let us know.
Yeah, and opinions as we go on. You may feel one way one day, and then 3 years down the road, you realize that you've changed it.
Yeah, exactly. But you might feel the same way about 1998 as you feel today. And that's fine.
It's still crap. It's still crap.
It has been amazing, though, this past year. Matt, we talked about it earlier, but thank you for joining me on this show, being part of this journey for me and everything that we've been able to deliver to people. We've been friends for 30 plus years now.
Yeah, let's not do the math.
Okay, yeah, we shouldn't do that. But
that might take too long.
It would take too long. But earlier this week we were talking about it, and I'm glad you brought up that our friendship in talking about music is so in depth that we know how to disagree with one another and give each other just enough crap.
yeah. It's
it-
fun.
It is. So let's continue to do that as we go into the new year. And I look forward to finding ways to maybe tack onto the show little by little. We know it has an end game. We know it ends within our life, but I think there'll be some surprises coming up in 2023 that will
Yes, we have ideas.
Yeah, that will throw people off a little bit and will make the show a little more fun. So I look forward to sharing that with everybody. Matt, it's your turn to say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. We would like to say farewell from the Jam Yearbook. Have a happy and safe new year.
Yes. Everybody, peace, love, and podcast.